Welcome to the Electric Playground. Today we've got Batman and Scorpion in the rundown.
Plus, we get the drop on Agent 47 with a behind-the-scenes look at the new Hitman movie.
47, you are a legend. I'm better.
And then Ben and Jose bring the nostalgia with a review of Rare Replay. Also coming up, Marissa and I show you a life of Pixel on the Wii U. Marissa plays ball in her pocket, and much more today on EP Daily. Brought to you by EB Games. I'm your host, Victor Lucas, bringing you the latest on everything cool every single day. Now, why did the chicken cross the road? Because the rundown was waiting on the other side. A new combatant might be entering the Mortal Kombat movie. Saw, Insidious, and Furious 7 director James Wan is rumored to be producing the new big-screen adaptation of the fighting game franchise. The project has been in development ever since the success of the live-action web series Mortal Kombat Legacy, although the film is expected to be a clean reboot and not a continuation of the same story. The director behind the web series, Kevin Tascheron, was attached to helm the movie before dropping out in 2013, so there's a chance Wan might direct as well as produce. He's already slated to helm the Aquaman movie that will be part of the new DC Cinematic Universe, but that's not due to surface until 2018.
That was awesome, man.
And speaking of the new DC Cinematic Universe, you might want to get used to the idea of Ben Affleck as Batman. The studio executives at Warner Brothers are rumored to be so happy with Affleck's performance in the upcoming Batman vs. Superman that they want him to star in and direct an entire trilogy of Bat films. Rumors had already surfaced that they wanted him in a single Batman solo movie, so Bat fans should be happy that they're getting at least 2 more movies. Batfleck will also appear alongside other DC heroes in the Justice League movies and cameo in the villainous Suicide Squad. Audiences still have to decide for themselves if they like Affleck as the Caped Crusader. They'll get to find out when Batman vs. Superman brings the justice to theaters in March 2016. Always a good day when I get 2 things in the rundown to talk about, Batman and Mortal Kombat, and to do that today is my pal Scott Jones.
I'm a fan of both properties.
Yes, and they're both under the Warner Brothers umbrella, so this is kind of interesting, and there's also the Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe. But let's talk about Batman and Ben Affleck. Batfleck, lots of good buzz. Maybe self-generated by Warner Brothers, sort of percolating and infiltrating the airwaves right now. What do you think about all this?
It's hard to know how much of it's self-generated at this point, because social media does feel like it's just something you can kind of create and get a wave going, and then everybody kind of seems like, well, where did this come from? But either this is going to be a disaster or it's going to be glorious. What about you?
I think that's the deal. I mean, he's such a famous person. We've been saying this all along. We all know him, and we know what we can kind of know what he's going to sound like as Bruce Wayne and as Batman, and it's up to him now. So fingers are crossed there. Now, James Wan, we love this guy. He's done lots of cool
James
things.
Wan, yeah. He's a
you've met
personal
him?
friend. I met him at New York Comic Con once. I did an interview with him. I'm a huge fan of the Insidious, well, not the Insidious series, but the first three quarters of the first movie was amazing to me.
Yes.
And, you know, he's part of the Fast and Furious franchise. He directed the last film there. Now he's moving on to Mortal Kombat.
He's such a savvy guy. Like, he really understands how to put these movies together, you know?
But I feel like these things, I mean, the amazing thing is that he did such a great job with the horror genre for a while, and he really left his mark on the Saw, even the Saw franchise. Say whatever you will about it, but he really left a personal mark on it. Sure. These bigger franchises like Mortal Kombat, like Fast and the Furious, I feel like he's not really, like, I don't know how much of him is actually involved in the machinery of creating these entertainments.
Well, you got to look at it, I think, from the studio's viewpoint. They have to trust it with someone, and this is a guy that's proven himself with horror and with action, and they're going to entrust him with a massive budget and characters that are really beloved by people out there, and I think he's a wise choice. We are fans of Wan, and I would love to see an awesome Mortal Kombat movie. I think that'd be super fun. Lots of great characters in there. But right now, we've got to move on. We've got another video game movie to talk about. It's Hitman, Agent 47.
Last time I checked, you're the one locked in here with me, and I'm the one with the gun.
No, Mr. Sanders, you're locked in here with me, and you just brought me mine. I play an assassin called Agent 47, who is a gun for hire, and he kills people for money.
He's here to kill you, Katya, and I'm here to stop him. I'm John Smith. I know you don't have any reason to trust me, but look at him. Look at how he moves. Look at the shadows under his coat. Look at his eyes, and tell me that I'm lying. I play a character called John Smith, who exists in the world of the video game, but in a relatively peripheral capacity. He intercepts Katya Van Dies, played by Hannah Ware, at a crucial moment in her journey. And then there's a sort of triangulation between John Smith, Katya, and Agent 47.
You know why you're still alive? Because I chose not to kill you. But they will.
Okay, untie me.
You're the same as me. So untie yourself.
She goes on a really great journey, and it's tracked in a kind of wonderful way. And she really grows as a person. That's always exciting to play. You see how ferocious she is and how brave she is, and it's nice to see girls being brave on film, because so often we're counterparts to like the males in the action, and Katya is the anti-hero.
I was intrigued by the idea of someone who is accused of having had their emotions genetically removed and how they might manifest themselves.
When I get anxious and I can't sleep, I take things apart.
Don't ever do that again.
It's a really clever film. Above it being an action film, it's got sci-fi in it, and being a fan of the video game, it's got really, really compelling characters, and it's just clever.
Mr. Chairman, you know who I am.
I play the clerk here.
He's the guy who pulls the strings in the background. It's about power. Find the girl, whatever it takes.
There are whole legions of fans of Hitman who've explored his background and written about it at length. And so for an actor, it's a real gift.
I always close my contracts.
The movie comes out on Friday, and fingers crossed, I hope this one's a good one.
Yeah, me too. Stick around. When we come back, we've got the Rare Replay Review with Ben and Jose. EP's mobile coverage is brought to you by Gameloft, makers of Asphalt 8 Airborne, which you can play on your Android or iOS device for free right now.
Guess what, everybody? I'm terrible at basketball. Surprise! So I thought maybe I could play a basketball game on my iPhone that was free. Also, another surprise. It's called Ball King. I thought maybe I could be good at this one, but guess what? I'm not. I'm terrible. But there's something about this game that wants me to keep playing it, and I want to keep playing it. All you're doing is flicking down, you're pulling your finger down and releasing the ball. It has a very Angry Birds mechanic here with physics and the ball going into the hoop. It's on a street. I love that you can change the ball here. You're unlocking different balls. You can unlock bombs. That's actually something. You're throwing bombs into the hoop. There's a little cat that you can unlock that watches you play. You can be a ninja shooting the hoops as well. Just little things you're collecting along the way because you want to collect coins when you shoot the hoops as well. What you want to do is play the two different modes here. There's a challenge mode where you're just shooting until you don't get a basket in and then the level is over. Surprise, it happens really quickly for me. But there's also a time trial as well, so you try to get as many hoops in to the basket as possible within a minute. That one's a little more fun for me because I can keep playing without dying. I just love the colorful mechanics, the very arcadey look of this thing. It is a lot of fun and it's free. There are some freemium aspects here that I hate though, just watching videos, they disrupt your gameplay. But other than that, I'm gonna keep going back to it because honestly, it's a lot of fun for a pick up and play basketball game that even though I'm terrible at, I am addicted to. I'm gonna give Ball King an 8 out of 10. Oh dang, I love shooting them pockets. You know what else, Jones? I love shooting them hoops.
Yeah, moving right along, our classic gamers, Ben and Jose, well, they are taking on the classic Rare Replay Collection. This is all the great Rare games from history, all on one disc.
Nice.
Here's the review.
Since Ben and I are pretty much the best reviewers on the entire show, they figured why not give us 30 games to review in one shot. That's right, this is the Rare replay.
I beat all of them.
I know. I saw it. I saw all the achievements, all the snapshots unlocked. Was it fun playing 30 years of Rare history?
Well, this is the first thing that I thought of when I got this game. I was so excited to see that Microsoft is actually honoring a game developer. I mean, everybody in the world can name some video games, but very few people actually know who makes these things.
Sure.
And it's something that people who work in the video game industry, we know all the people who make it, every single one of them. It's important to honor these craftsmen and craftswomen who spend their lives churning out these awesome video games. So first off, kudos to Microsoft for actually slapping Rare's name right on the box.
A couple of those N64 games too. They're like, whoa, here you go.
Yeah, exactly. They really honor this company. And they honor this company by including 30 games from Rare's history. It starts with 1983's Jetpack. Never played that one before.
Really?
I never played Jetpack.
It was in the original. If you bought the Xbox Live version of Jetpack Refueled, you could play the classic version.
Why would I have bought Jetpack Refueled?
You didn't play all that? I played all that stuff. XBLA, man.
But I was stoked to play it. I was stoked to play all those early games. There's a bunch of them. Games like Saberwolf, Underworld. Yeah, there's Knight's Lore. And all these games came out for a computer called the ZX Spectrum, which was an 8-bit computer that was hot in the UK during the 80s. I never owned one, obviously, and I never really played these games. I was really stoked to play them, but they're not really that much fun. A couple of them are okay, but a lot of them are kind of lame.
Jetpack wasn't bad.
These computers were very rickety, and you gotta give them some leeway with how good or bad these games were.
Respect the history.
That being said, I think for a lot of people, you jump into this collection, and you're gonna really start with the NES games. That's when a lot of people fell in love with Rare. Well, there's Slalom, there's also RC Pro-Am, dude, which is a great game.
RC Pro-Am 2.
And they're both good still. Like, those are still really fun racing games. And then, of course, you segue right into Battletoads, which for a lot of us, for me, that was really my first Rare game. The game that I thought, this is a developer, it kind of has an identity to it, with those characters, those ridiculous Battletoads.
Rash sits in Pimple.
Oh my god, it's totally embarrassing and blatant Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle ripoff. They even talk about that in some of the making of stuff, which we'll get to in a bit. But I loved playing Battletoads again, and the most important thing about playing Battletoads in the Rare replay, as opposed to playing it for real,
is the cheat for infinite lives.
Is the rewind. You can rewind. You can rewind any game by pressing the left trigger, and that's like in the middle of the game. So obviously in a game like Battletoads, when you're dying over and over again on the racing level, well, you just hit the left trigger, you cheat, you zip back a little bit, and you do it again.
Which is great. I mean, they have that feature involved in all their games, so you can go through and like, that sucks, except for like the later on games. But for all the classic games, you can go through rewind, especially those tough parts where you definitely need to utilize it. I mean, obviously, Killer Instinct was one of my favorite games when it came out in the arcade cabinet when it was built for the Ultra 64. I would have liked to see the arcade edition of the original Killer Instinct. I mean, Killer Instinct Gold is fun and all, but there's just something special that resonates with that original Killer Instinct.
Yeah.
That couldn't get in there.
Well, they didn't put in the SNES version, which I think a lot of people were more familiar with than the N64 version. But I mean, you're right. Look, Killer Instinct, that's another Rare game. I kind of forgot Rare made that until I started playing this collection. I was like, oh my god, right, they made Killer Instinct too. From there, after you get through those NES and SNES games, you get into the real heart of Rare's game making, which are the N64 games. And that starts with Blast Corps, which was an underrated, very cool.
Yeah, I had some good times playing that game, man.
Just break and tear things down.
I had to send a picture to my friend Aaron. I was like, remember that time we used to play this game all the time? Like, it's back. It's back now. You can play it now again.
It's really an undervalued classic how good Blast Corps is. People who play a lot of video games, writers and journalists, we all talk about Blast Corps as being sort of one of the great lost N64 games. But they also have some awesome not lost games, like all the Banjo-Kazooie games, which hold up remarkably well.
I literally finished half of Banjo-Kazooie. I was excited just to be playing it again. I forgot that I was supposed to be reviewing all the other games on the disc, and I'm like, all right, this is great.
Yeah, I got into that one too. I know. I know.
There have been collections of game franchises before, but this is, like you said, a love letter and shows just how much that the Microsoft people cared about putting this Rare package together and making it worthwhile to the people that want to experience the history of Rare and getting the featurettes and soundtrack stories. And there's so many extras just that they didn't even have to include. They could have just gave me the games. Yeah. But the behind-the-scenes stuff really pulls the package together. And for $30, it's so hard to beat a value like that.
It is hard to beat a value, although I do have to say one quick thing, which is that you're getting this collection, you're excited to play a bunch of Rare games, you're going to be missing two of probably the best-known Rare games
Wheel
ever.
of Fortune on the Nintendo.
That's right. And you're missing GoldenEye for the N64, and you're missing all of the Donkey Kong Country games. And these are probably Rare's best games. I mean, that's the fact is at least the best-known games that this company's ever made. And Rare's gone on record saying, well, it's because these games were sort of licensed properties. We didn't create these characters, so we didn't feel like it was a good fit. The real story is probably a little bit of the moolah. They got a lot of licensing issues with Nintendo. So it's unfortunate they're not here, but it's a little weak, nitpicking a game for having only 30 games for $30.
If you guys would have given us
32.
34, that would have been better. I could have used all 3 Donkey Kongs and a GoldenEye, but I'll take the 30.
Just know going in, you're not getting GoldenEye or Donkey Kong Country, but man, you're getting so much more. This is an incredible compilation. I think we need to give it an awesome score. What are you giving the Rare Replay?
I'm giving the Rare Replay a 9 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm giving it an 8.5 myself. We love your Rare.
Well, you said you wanted to see more video game reviews from Ben and Jose, and there's 30 all at once.
Oh, dang! Well, coming up next, Vic and Marissa are back in the driver's seats.
Yeah.
They are playing a game called Life of Pixel after this.
Welcome back to EP Daily. Have you ever wondered what it would be like to be a little pixel man in a little pixel world trying to discover your ancestry? Well, Vic and I tried to dive into that world in Life of Pixel. Here's our review.
Not too long ago on this show, I did a review of a game called Evoland, which was a game that took us through various time periods of a cool RPG. It's on the App Store, you should get that. But there's another game that's been around in this space for a while called Life of Pixel, which employs a similar type of theme. It's available for the Wii U, which is where Marissa and I reviewed it, but you can also find it on Steam. What did you think of?
on the Vita too. I think you can find this thing.
It's all over the place.
Yeah, in a bunch of different places. Normally these retro games are really difficult.
Oh, okay.
Guess what?
Difficult.
It's difficult.
Yeah.
Guess what, everybody? This game is difficult. Surprise. It's cute, though, because you start off as a little pixel, and his name is Pixel. And he gets sucked into a museum world, right? And so we're just learning all about the games that he's learning about. He wants to know where he came from.
Yeah.
So say we all.
Yeah.
We want to know where we came from. So he's doing a little ancestry. He's going in. He's trying to find exactly where he came from. And it's cool because you actually are exploring these different machines.
Yeah.
And you feel the nostalgia, like you feel the tie-in to certain games as well, especially if you played these games growing up on these old machines. I'm just wondering, though, if it appeals to people that have never actually played these games before.
It does go into some fairly obscure British computer systems, but they were very important, like the Amstrad and the Spectrum, and there's also the Amiga, which became an incredibly important machine for developers out there. There are also, of course, some standouts like the Commodore 64 and the Atari 2600 and the Game Boy and the NES and the Super Nintendo. The gist of the gameplay is here. It's very similar all the way through, which is kind of a statement on how two-dimensional scrolling gameplay hasn't really evolved all that much. What has evolved is the art around it and some of the little power-ups and things that you can collect as you work your way through the game and onto various new systems.
Well, that's exactly it. That's how you have to pass each level. You have to collect all these gems.
Yeah.
And I do like that you get a little history lesson with them, so maybe that would be the appeal to people that have never played before.
What I also like, though, is that you can jump onto the different systems if you want to just explore, and you can sort of carve out a path on the Game Boy for a little while, then you can go back to the Commodore 64, then you can check out the Super Nintendo. I just like the cleverness of it, just like I appreciated that in Evoland. I like this idea of progression and also a tip of the hat to the past. And I love the history bits, and I like that you can unlock things like the Sega Master System if you're diligent enough and patient and persistent enough.
Yeah.
Which doesn't sound like you were.
No, I'm not. Well, you know that I'm not. You know that I'm not. I absolutely loved my retro systems when I played them when I was younger.
Yes.
And I just feel like there's so many of these throwback retro style games now that are very difficult because they're holding up a mirror to the way it once was. And I like that. I really do. But I'm not going to keep playing this game if it's going to keep torturing me.
Well, that's kind of the challenge, too, of all of these retro indie type titles out there is that we can still play the retro games. And Nintendo does a fantastic job of making them available to us. And the Wii U is an amazing system in that regard because it's almost like a history lesson for the Nintendo product.
That's true. And this is a $10 game. I just feel like we have a lot of things like this, and I can't really justify people spending $10 in the eShop for this game when we have so many others to enjoy.
They're being very clever with their homages and their tips of the hat, you know, and I like all of that history stuff.
Yes. So, would we not rather have an exciting game?
I appreciate this too. It's not as good, but I do appreciate this. I'm going to give Life of Pixel an 8 out of 10.
Okay, applaud the effort for sure, but it's only getting a 6.
Okay.
Well, at least the game was a little bit better than the Adam Sandler movie, Pixels. Don't go anywhere because after the break, we've got the Twitter question of the day.
If you want more EP, go to our website, epn.tv, for bonus content and full episodes. We're also on Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome back to the Electric Playground. It is time for our Twitter question of the day. This one's from Chris Bever at BeverProd. With the recent success of backwards compatibility with Xbox One, do you think PlayStation will try again and do the same? We get asked this a lot. Everybody wants PlayStation 4 to have backwards compatibility.
So much good karma, so much goodwill after Microsoft announced the backwards compatibility for the Xbox One. It would work with all the Xbox 360 discs. So far, it's too soon because it doesn't really work yet. It's something that Microsoft's working on. It's a long-term project. I just bought 3 new Xbox 360 games for my collection thinking I could play them on the Xbox One. They're not ready yet. They don't work on the Xbox One yet. And I wrote to my contact at Microsoft and he said, be patient. It'll happen. Yeah, Phil Spencer personally. It'll happen later this year. But right now, it's just kind of a waiting game. It's goodwill, but it hasn't quite been fully realized yet.
It's a great move, though, and the fact that it's all going to be free and you can play those games is awesome. Now, PlayStation should do something with PlayStation Now, allowing you to play games you already own through that service from PlayStation 3 or PlayStation 2. Something. It would be amazing if you could do that, not just the downloadable ones that you buy. Good question. If you've got one for us, make sure you hit up our website, epn.tv, where you can also get caught up on full episodes.
And tune in to tomorrow's show because we got a closer look at a new game called Fistful of Gun. Thanks for watching, everybody.
We'll see you tomorrow.
EP would like to thank its sponsors, Nintendo, Xbox.
It's just like spaghetti western vibe. I mean, there's a full-on story mode that kind of like Dirty Dozen style. You play each of the characters and they got quite custom mission for each one. And it eventually ties together quite nicely in a sort of end story, but it's primarily a co-op arcade game that you can play with your mates.